And it is all we do. 98.5, the Sports Hub. The Bruins, the Celtics, the Patriots, the Sox, the Revs, and you. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
5 seconds remaining. Fox to Wemby. Wemby tries a three, puts it up, off the mark. Anunoby the rebound. It's over. It's over. Knicks fans, this is not a dream.
Knicks are champions of the National Basketball Association. NBA champions and NBA Cup champs in the same year. Woo, yeah. It was one of the most impressive runs to a championship that I've seen, and I've been watching NBA playoff games very closely, really since Jordan versus the Jazz. So many places to go. First of all, I'm going to just say this. I thought it was a complete and utter humiliation for the San Antonio Spurs. I will go as far as to say I don't think Victor Wembanyama wins multiple championships. I don't see it based on the way I saw him behave in this series. And I know he's young. He's young. Okay. I think that the way the league is now, despite the fact that they've got a lot of great young players, I think that the way the league is structured now, it's harder to win. It's harder to get back to the finals. I still don't trust his body to hold up, which is another factor, but we're not going to talk about that right now. And I just thought what he did in this series was damning.
See y'all. Never.
Damning. I thought it was worse than what Jason Tatum offered in 2022. I thought the way they lost games were completely and utterly inexcusable. It was as grown-up versus child as I've ever seen in pro sports. The Knicks, grown men, adults. The Spurs, children. Wemby, child. Acted like a child, played like a child in this series. What they did against the Thunder, that was his, game 6 against the Bucks and the Bucks series that we saw from the Celtics in 2022. Everything else besides that in the finals was an utter embarrassment. Losing the games that you lost, the turnovers late, throwing the ball off Stephon Castle's back, De'Aaron Fox. Shame on you. This series could have been different. San Antonio had the horses. San Antonio had the athleticism, the defensive ability, and I think even the mindset. They were just children because they could not keep their food down late in the game. I thought what Jalen Brunson did and what the Knicks did and the way they did it, I'm not going to say it was a total indictment on the Celtics, but I think what it does do is it highlights the importance of being clutch and the impact being able to win those types of games can have. And I don't know how you can look at the Knicks and what we saw over the course of the last 2 months and think they are anything like the Boston Celtics. They are nothing like the Boston Celtics. Okay? And I'm going to give you another thing. And I hate to do this. I hate it. But we do need to, if we're being honest, and I'm about honesty, we need to look at the championship the Celtics won in 2024 and reassess how they did it and what it means. It does not mean, what I just said does not mean you take something away from the accomplishment. That does not mean you minimize their achievement. No. What I'm saying is maybe what we need to do / should have done was look at it truthfully and try to figure out if that told us something about the future. And I think it did and does still. Okay? You take nothing away from what the Celtics achieved in 2024. They were there. They were upright. They won the games. They won the championship. But I do think it's fair 2 years later now to look back at it and see how it all unfolded and question if whether or not the way it unfolded, guys getting, injured, Mitchell, Halliburton, I thought there was another, Jimmy Butler. Did that symbolize something in terms of their ability to win again? Did that indicate something in reference to their ability to win it again? Because maybe if all those guys were healthy, they wouldn't have won it. Now, I don't know that. Again, you take nothing away from the accomplishment. But, I mean, watching the Knicks win the way they won, coming back from, I feel like that was a more realistic path to a championship. That was a more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Lucky.
No.
You're
saying the Knicks were lucky?
No. They grinded their way.
I just feel like that's a more
it.
organic, natural path to a championship. The way that their run unfolded versus the way the Celtics run unfolded. And, just the way that the way the Knicks forced San Antonio into those mistakes was stunning. It's still inexcusable for San Antonio to make those mistakes, but this is why I've beat this drum for years and years and years about the Celtics. Because when you have the ability to win games like that, in that fashion, that is such a huge, enormous, monumental advantage you have over the rest of the league, especially in the National Basketball Association. Especially there. Because not only does that mean you have what it takes to make that shot, to get over the hump, what it means is you'll get in the head of the opponent and make them deteriorate in front of your eyes. And that's exactly what the Spurs did. They wilted at the Knicks' aura. They knew when the games were tight late that the Knicks were going to find a way and that Brunson was going to find a way. They knew it, it affected them, and it beat them. It beat them down, and it lost them the series.
And to your point, apparently this is the only finals where the Knicks won the series, but they trailed by double-digit points in every game.
They found a way. They have a knack for coming back. They're comfortable in that position.
Really the anti-Celtics, right? To your point, I would say the Spurs showed a lot of Celtics in them, getting tight in these situations, and then the chucking up of the threes, where is kind of this pattern of that they stepping in the quicksand and just they could sense the panic in them. It's just they couldn't quite rebound. Pardon the pun there, but they couldn't rebound and get back on course. And obviously, then Game 4 was tragic.
And we'll get into that, George. You brought up the Celtics. We've talked about that. For whatever you thought of the Celtics in 2022 against the Warriors. And obviously it wasn't good the way that series unfolded.
Right.
Tatum. This was worse for the Spurs. This was at least the Celtics. First of all, did Tatum play well? Not really. But he didn't have the explosive disasters that we saw from the Spurs and from Wemby. They were also playing a team that had won how many titles up to that point?
Correct.
3. They were a proven champion, winner. Okay, you kind of let it get away from you. You lost the series. This Spurs team, the Knicks hadn't won anything other than the cup.
Right.
It doesn't matter. They had no business. I understand that they're young, but losing the way especially coming off of beating the defending NBA champions. I get they were injured a little bit on their home floor, the Thunder's home floor, in Game 7, and to put that on display in the finals, immediately coming off of that epic series win, unacceptable. And the way they lost those games, coaching, star players, game management, all of the above, totally unacceptable. We're going to sneak one in here. James in the car. Hey, James.
Hey, what's going on? So I feel like every word you've spoken since you got on was directed at me listening in the car because I have to say something. You can't take anything away from the Celtics championship.
Hold on, James.
And
didn't I say that exact phrase?
You said it more than a few times.
Okay.
But after you kept bringing up who was injured during that run and how they did it and how the Knicks just did it. But 2 years from now, if the Spurs win, you can dissect how the Knicks won it when the Spurs had all young players. And it is comparable to like the Celtics losing to Golden State. I think there's something to be said about bringing players in that have like a winning pedigree. You know, like a lot of the guys on the Knicks, they won in college together. They have a winning pedigree. And I got to give it to Brunson. I have argued with people at work about Jalen Brunson in the past. And I got to eat my foot today because he took it. The Spurs had it at points in time, and he treated them like a child, like you said, and he took it. I'm happy that I don't have to deal with it anymore. I'm a fan of sports like you. I love the NBA, and I'll watch it. I'll watch the playoffs regardless of who's playing. But as a Celtics fan, I'm so happy I don't have to. I can be done with it. I'll listen to you now.
All right, thanks, James. Yeah, I love golf. I like to play golf. It's like a golfer to me in terms of the Celtics and what James was saying. Look, I wouldn't. If a golfer is trying to close out a major, say, we can't cross sports. Yes, we can. And hits skulls one, but gets lucky, and it skips up onto the green and hits the lip of the green or whatever, and then bounces up, and it's a completely lucky shot, but it ends up in a good spot, and then he putts, and then he makes the putt to win the tournament. That's not going to affect his legacy at all. Nobody's going to look back and say, oh, well, McIlroy had that, he got lucky on that sculled ball that ended up near the hole and he putted in and won the Masters. So we don't really count. No. So what? He got lucky. And it wasn't a good swing, but the result was there and he took advantage of it and won the tournament. That wouldn't affect his legacy at all, even though you saw it. You know he was lucky. Things sort of broke his way. But it would never affect his legacy. He found a way. He did a lot of other good things to win the tournament. However, Rory McIlroy in that moment would take a look at himself and say, well, how can I avoid that swing in the past or in the future? And what am I going to have to do going forward to be able to do this again, to achieve this again? Because I can't rely on what I just did. That's what I'm saying the Celtics have to do or had to do in 2024. That's all. You take nothing away. So what? They sculled the shot and got on the green or whatever. They won. They were there. They took advantage. They won. But you then need to look at yourself and say, all right, did we catch some breaks? And if we hadn't, would that have been the best scenario for us? And would we have been prepared to deal? Maybe they would have been, but we don't know. And I think that is something that you need to think about based on what they did in 2024, just because it was crazy how all those guys got injured and the path that they had, and they only, how many times they go to 6 games and all those things. But you take nothing away from that. James brought up Brunson. When we get back, Jalen Brunson had the most noteworthy playoff run since Michael Jordan. And I'm going to explain what I mean when we get back. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5, The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5. the Sports Hub.
Small guards can win if they do it the right way. We will all take it back. Small guards, scoring guards. This is for Allen Iverson. This was for Damian Lillard should be happy to see this because now he understands, man, maybe if I do these things, if I sacrifice these things, I can win too. A lot of the small guards that came before Jalen Brunson all were trying to figure out how to do it. How do I make this happen? Go look at some Jalen Brunson tape. Go watch him go against different defenses. Go watch him have to figure out, hey, I need to put myself in actions. I need to single out this guy. I need to pick on that guy. They picked on the defensive player of the year.
He's really the epitome. They call him the captain. He's the epitome of a captain because he's their floor leader.
Yeah.
He's their emotional leader.
Yeah.
He sets the tone for the team. And he took less money so those dudes all could get paid.
Yes.
Nobody does that in this league, just so y'all know.
$113 million.
Yeah.
Nobody else does that in this league.
And look, Jalen Brunson is going to go down as one of the all-time great winners, just period.
All right, back here, 98.5 The Sports Hub, 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero. What Jalen Brunson just authored during the NBA playoffs is the greatest playoff run by an individual player that we have seen since Michael Jordan. Better than anything Kobe Bryant did, better than anything Steph Curry did, better than anything LeBron James did. We have not seen a run like this since Michael Jordan. And it goes beyond the statistical dominance, especially when you look at a game like Game 5 last night. Okay? Game 5 notwithstanding. 45 points. That we've seen. We've seen games like that. And yes, that was Jordan-esque. We've seen LeBron James do that. Off the top of my head, I can think of that Game 6 in Boston. That wasn't the finals, 2012 or whatever that was. There were obviously games in that series against the Warriors in 2016 that was legendary. So every now and then you can have a big statistical performance. We've seen Jason Tatum, 50 points in games. We've seen this before. What we have not seen since Michael Jordan is a player impact the emotional state of winning so deeply as Jalen Brunson has with the Knicks and for the Knicks. That we have not seen since Jordan. Maybe the closest thing that we've seen since Jordan is Kobe at the second run there, 2009, 2010, but that wasn't even this. Okay? That was not coming back from multiple double-digit deficits and 30, setting records for comebacks and 29-point comebacks. That was not this. The way Jalen Brunson put fear in his opponents, allowing his team to be at their very best at the end of every game in these finals and even before the finals. The way that he was able to wrestle the San Antonio Spurs, this young, talented group that beat the defending champions in a Game 7 on their floor, on their home floor, the defending champs' floor, and make them look like such inexperienced children, so ill-prepared for the moment in the finals. That juxtaposition we haven't seen since Jordan. Nobody's been that impactful in that way since Michael Jordan. I understand their games are completely different. Different things, the intensity, the way that Jordan was above the rim. Brunson's not an above the rim player. But nobody since Michael Jordan has paralyzed their opponent late in games out of straight fear like the way Jalen Brunson had and did during this playoff run.
I'd compare Brunson, and I'm more comfortable comparing Brunson not to Jordan because I think that's just sacrilegious, but to Isaiah Thomas, our Isaiah Thomas, lefty, short, but that MVP season, what he was kind of putting forth late in games, I agree. Brunson, I wouldn't. and this is where I'm going to come across as disrespectful. I don't really fear them. It's
Fear who?
Brunson down the stretch.
Yeah.
Like he'll miss the shots to be sure. And I think Anunoby did a great job. The Spurs to the game 4, going back there, they didn't really put the body on the inbounder, and then Anunoby just a great heady play. The heart of a champion to be sure. I'm pretty sure he was on that Raptors team in 2019.
He was.
Yeah. So
he didn't play in the finals, but he was on the team.
Yeah, so he brought that championship pedigree to the team, not to usurp Brunson. He is the balls of the Knicks, to be sure. Brunson, though, in these clutch late situations, he's fearless, to be sure. Something that we want to borrow kind of from the Celtics, to be sure. Do you think that this Knicks championship minimizes the Celtics championship of 24 at all?
No. I think like I said, I don't take anything away from that championship. I mean, look, they did what they had to do. They beat the teams and the players that were on the court. That's good for them.
I think it speaks to the parity of the league.
I don't know how you can sit there, though, today and say, like, Brunson doesn't just wildly impress you and everything that he did was unbelievable.
Now,
how can you, like, what isn't impressive?
You know what? To be fair,
yeah,
I was busy with the soccer yesterday and did not tune into that Game 5. And then by the time I tuned into Game 5 and then down the stretch, he was pretty phenomenal. And the fact that the Knicks did it again in the fourth quarter, and then Brunson is a big piece of that. He's undeniable. To be
I know you said Anunoby, made the play in Game 4 and right. Brunson missed the shot. I get that. But the reason that I feel like the reason all those guys are able to make those plays in large part is because of the inevitability that Brunson has created, and that they're so good late in the game, they expect that he's going to come through or that something is just going to work out. The thing that I've said, you've been on with me, George.
Yes.
Where I've said, in relation to the Celtics, I've made this reference a million times. A few years ago, it was Kansas City hosting Jacksonville, and Chris Jones, after the game, commenting, he was getting interviewed, and he said, we believe because we have Patrick Mahomes. And I've always said, I don't think the Celtics feel that towards Jason Tatum. Do they think he's a great player? Absolutely. Do they love having him on the team? Absolutely. Do they think that, are they in awe of his talent? Of course. But do they truly, at their core, believe that when the game is tight late, Tatum is going to be the one to will them to victory? I do not think they believe that. I think they think he's great. I think they love having him as a team. I don't think they think he'll find a way. Brady, Mahomes, and now Brunson. Because the Knicks, going back to that Chris Jones quote, they feel that with and for Jalen Brunson.
Are you implying that Tatum is nervous, or are you nervous about Tatum down the stretch, or having the ball in his hands in an ISO situation with the shot clock off? Are you implying that he's a choker or just not capable of doing it? Tatum?
Yeah. Yes. A choker is too strong.
Right.
I wouldn't call him a choker.
Because
have you listened to me?
I would just reel it back a little bit in terms of just the tone, to be sure. But it's like Tatum, he's not somebody I don't trust down the stretch. I would put my trust into Jason Tatum down the stretch. I just think that they are too inconsistent, and they definitely have the air of not, or the whiff of not knowing what they're doing down the stretch.
Choker, I don't think he's a choker.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say he's a choker or somebody that you don't trust to have the ball down the stretch.
I like I've said, I feel for a player with that much offensive skill, I just feel like too often it looks really bad in those moments. Brunson last night, I'll give you an example. One of the plays, it was late in the game, and he came down, he took like a jump shot from the side of the wing there, went off like the side of the backboard. When that happened, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it was that bad based on everything I'd watched from that guy. If Tatum did that, I'd believe it. Like, yep, that's what happens. He gets too sped up and too tight, and he just threw it off the thing. Doesn't mean he can never come through in that. Like, that's not something that would shock me, but Brunson's body of work made me feel a certain level of surprise or shock that happened. He doesn't do that. He always makes that shot.
More often than not, he's coming through in the moment.
More consistent. And I'm not even asking Tatum to be Brunson. That's, like I said, we haven't seen it since Jordan. I'm just looking for a little bit more consistency. And I'm telling you, the Knicks believe because they have Brunson, they're going to find ways to pull out these games, and that helps their entire operation. The Boston Celtics do not benefit from that. And you could, I don't believe it.
Do you think the Celtics need a true point guard or true ball handler?
No, I think they need to work on that. I think they need to work on those situations, and I think Joe Mazzulla or whoever's coaching Tatum needs to find a way to get him better or more relaxed or call better play. Whatever it is, they need to find a way to be better in those situations.
I like that answer too, to be sure.
All right.
Any chance that if the Celtics had kind of stuck with the same team, maybe had a bigger impact this year than kind of what they did with Holiday and Porzingis and Horford?
They didn't have the horses this year. They weren't going to do anything this year. The thing about the Knicks, the way they were built is crazy. Were any one of those guys drafted by the Knicks?
Nice. The Nova Knicks, to be sure.
I don't think any one of those guys, any one of the core guys, like, I don't know, was Landry Shamet drafted by the Knicks?
Right.
Who? Mitchell Robinson, he might have been a Knicks pick.
Big rebound down the stretch.
Yeah.
Mitchell Robinson. Reminds me of my cousin.
Everybody else, your cousin?
Yeah,
he has
lefty.
big rebound.
Yeah, he's just the way he plays ball, dirty, kind of grinder.
All right. I'll have to look it up. Brunson, Bridges. I completely forgot all the teams Josh Hart played for. Obviously, Towns wasn't a homegrown Knick. Anunoby's been around. None of them were drafted by the Knicks. That's, I think, an interesting dynamic there when you look around the league and say, how can I build a champion? It's not like they drafted well and waited and developed. And no, they just eventually, Brunson obviously was overlooked. He was the center back. I don't think anybody thought he was going to do what he did. But yes, the most impressive run since Jordan.
Is he the greatest Knick of all time now?
Yes, he is. I loved Patrick Ewing. That was I hate New York sports. He was my one soft spot. I loved the Ewing Knicks. The Ewing, not so much the Knicks. I loved Ewing. So I always, by default, had somewhat, I didn't have as much of a distaste for the Knicks as I had for the Yankees and all the other Jets, Giants. But yes, he did what Ewing could never do. So yes, he's the greatest of all time.
And when I think of Patrick Ewing, I think of that botched layup that could have sent the game into overtime in the finals. It's just like,
he got outplayed by Hakeem in 95. He just couldn't get them there.
I wanted that Josh Hart layup with 2 minutes and that bricking of it, and then the pointing to the head, pleading for a foul for a couple seconds before he realized, oh my goodness, I missed a wide open layup. I wanted that to be the Knicks moment of demise. I wanted it to mean something.
So did I. I rooted against him the whole series.
Yeah,
despite the fact that I had an invested interest in my take. Or a vested interest. I just didn't. I can't root for a New York Knicks to win the championship, even though I do think it's good for the NBA. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero here, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. in sports? Yeah, we got that covered. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
I think they dove in. From what I heard, they made an offer in the past week, a couple of days before I mentioned it on Thursday. Okay. I don't know what the offer was, and I don't know who's in it. But they are in. Hat was in the ring, which I was really surprised by, as I said on Thursday, because I thought they were sitting it out. And I don't know. Do you think something changed? Do you think they looked at this from every angle, or that they realized, oh, that's it for the Miami offer? We can beat that? Like, what would have changed their mindset? Because I do not think they were in on Giannis at the beginning of the offseason.
I don't think they were out. I just, the safest bet is always inertia, right? Like the safest bet is we know that the nucleus we have works really well. And there's some degree of risk in shaking that up for a 31-year-old who's been injury prone, and we're going to have to sign him to a ginormous extension. That's a big pivot for a team that has a pretty large window now of being one of the best teams in the NBA when everyone's healthy.
Back here, 98.5 The Sports Hub. That was Bill Simmons and Zach Lowe talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo, who could be coming to Boston, apparently. I wouldn't do it. I don't like it. I wouldn't do it.
I second that.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I'd stick with Jaylen Brown. We can get into that. First, let's talk to Stanley, who's in Taunton. Hey, Stanley.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
Passing through Norton. Thank you. So, gentlemen, this right here, we have to put in perspective, and I'm not just talking out my bum. If the Celtics were aggressive during the trade deadline, knowing there's parity in the league, they would have been in the spot where the Knicks is, because the Celtics would have exploited the immaturity of the Spurs. The second thing is, adding Giannis doesn't improve us because, like you said, it's injury prone. You got to look at it like this. It's the coaching. As much as Ime screwed up here, he would have held these players accountable and played defense the way it should be and not chuck up threes left and right. That 2022 finals was the catapult to them winning 2024, if he was there. And they could have, again, went back-to-back, or they could have went into this finals if they had a different aspect of coaching. Because you saw Atkins in Cleveland say, oh, analytically, we're 3-0. What does analytically 3-0 mean? You're down 0-3 against the Knicks.
Yeah.
And not only that, this puts fire under Joe Mazzulla's butt, because you can't do this analytic nonsense again. We've seen it. It just happened. It worked one time because of the teams that you played against. It's not going to happen a second time. Analytically, it's a 0. You need to for this team to go forward, you need a big man. You need a score, not a scoring, but a true point guard to basically facilitate or basically tell everybody where to go. Because it seems like as much as Jason Tatum can pass the ball, he can't do that. We're watching it unfold during this past Sixers series. He couldn't facilitate the right way. He's just making easy assists, if you catch my drift. Okay. But that's all I'll say. There's no point of trading Jaylen Brown for Giannis. I mean, the dude might go to OKC or Golden State at this point. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, thanks, Sam. I just don't know what you're improving if you get Giannis.
Analytically, I think we've won I said 3 out of 3. We're 2 out of 3.
Horrific comment.
And analytically, the Spurs have to look at that series and just like be beating their heads up. We're up double digits in most of these series. I'm sure our projections to win the game, analytically, we should be up 3-1 against these Knicks and not gentlemen. Yeah.
Here's the thing. The Celtics actually, now I understand the way the Knicks won, they can't do the same things. But what the Celtics should look at from a Knicks perspective and be happy about is the fact that they built the team in a way the Celtics are very capable of building a team. And I think Brad Stevens is more than capable of doing exactly what the Knicks did to build their championship team. Josh Hart, acquiring Mikal Bridges, acquiring OG Anunoby. Those are all moves that I think are in Brad Stevens' wheelhouse. I think that's what he does best. The Derek White type of move. You need about 3 of those. Because you already have your Brunson. You already have your Towns. You've got your stars. What do you get better at if Giannis comes here? I don't understand that. Okay, he's a little taller than Jaylen Brown. A little more length. Fine. Brown's a good defender. It's not like Jaylen Brown can't take it to the cup. He can. I think he's the closest thing the league has seen, honestly, since Dwayne Wade, or to Dwayne Wade. Especially in transition. He reminds me of Dwayne Wade in transition. So he can take it to the cup. He can defend. He can shoot it better than Giannis. Not that, again, I want to be obsessed with 3-pointers, but at least he can do it. He's younger. You've won with him. What am I missing here? And that's the question. Am I missing something? Is there something deeper going on that we don't know about that's causing Danny Ainge, Brad Stevens to almost have to make a move? I don't know. I don't know if it's the streaming, the live streaming. I don't know what it is. I just don't see how Giannis, especially based on the production over the last few years, a little bit, in terms of, I'm not going to call him a malcontent, but it didn't sound like he was the best in terms of handling the coaching situation in Milwaukee, setting the tone as a leader. It didn't sound like he was doing really well there. I don't know why you would break up Brown and Tatum in that partnership. I wouldn't do it. I would change my philosophy, and I would supplement those guys with a roster filled with long, athletic guys with experience. What the Knicks did. It's a copycat league. I don't understand why you wouldn't try to do that. Okay, the Knicks, obviously, their ability to win the games late, the Celtics don't have that advantage. Not to the level of the Knicks, but you could be right there. And if you could evolve a little bit and have, enough support around Tatum and Brown, you'll be right there to win a championship again. I don't know if you'll do it, but you'll be there to win it. Even if the Knicks are in your way, you'll be right there to win it. I just had so much respect for what the Knicks were doing last night. They're so unafraid of your taking threes. They do not care. They were crowding the paint, daring the Spurs to take the threes. It was like they knew they would start missing the threes. And when you have an offense as efficient as Brunson and the Knicks, you can do that. Because you're never going to just fully stop scoring. I mean, the way they lost these games, San Antonio, just so embarrassing. I'm not sure they're going to be able to overcome this quickly. They'll be back. They'll get back. They're really talented and young. But, I mean, you blow a 29-point lead in the second half. Man.
Hard to come back from that.
In an elimination game at home, you give up how many points did the Knicks score in the first quarter of that game? 13 points? And you can't find a way to win that game at home?
Got to do better.
Brutal.
Got to do better than 18 in the fourth quarter.
Brutal. Was that game 4?
Oh, no, this is game 5.
Game 4 was similar.
Yeah.
They scored game 4 was one of the greatest outcomes I've ever seen. I hated the outcome. Hated it. But what a moment of destiny. The fact that OG Anunoby was able to do what he did there and tip in that ball was astounding. It was astounding that they were able to complete that comeback in that way. And just to give New York City and Madison Square Garden that moment was just unbelievable. I know, in a way, it probably would have been cool if they could have won the championship at Madison Square Garden, but to have that game as the last game there this season, basically the game. That's basically the game that won the championship. To go from down, to the swing that the series experienced in that moment was so monumental. To from 1 second, 1 instant being tied 2-2 and losing both games on your home floor, to being up 3-1 with that shot as the decider. Everything changes.
The difference in the 22 finals, for example, right? The Celtics couldn't get that 3-1 lead. The series got split. The better team ended up winning. I think the Spurs, if they would have won that game 4, and to your point, 30 points in the second half in that game in Game 4 at MSG. Just, my goodness, just puking on yourselves.
Puking.
You have a 29-point lead. You score 30 in the second
Puking,
half. Just like,
chatting,
get out
pooping, like everything. They did it all. And it's something, the Celtics, the blueprint is there. The good news about the Giannis rumors, that shows a pulse to me, and I'm always interested in that. The team, I want even if they make the wrong move, a move I don't agree with, I want the team to exude an air of aggressiveness.
Right.
Exactly. Going for it, shaking it up, getting after it, even if it's a move I don't agree with.
And I don't appreciate the leaks. I hate the leaks, really.
Yeah?
I think that the leaks have a chance to get an opportunity to infiltrate the brain of Jaylen Brown and kind of force his hand.
Well, he needs to be mature enough to handle that.
Oh, I hope so. Jaylen Brown, if you're hearing this, is Boston Radio.
He listens.
The
he listens.
hub
He
here,
loves you. He's a
the
huge
sports
fan.
hub. I'm a big fan, Jaylen Brown. We appreciate you here in Boston, us real green teamers.
Neither of us want you traded.
Right. So it's whatever narrative is trying to split up the Jays here. I'm not a proponent of this. It seems like everybody's on the table except for Tatum, which is, I hate that these leaks are coming out, and it seems like they might be trying to get third and multiple teams involved. And with that, you get these leaks. I doubt that they're coming from the Stevens side.
What do you get? What do you improve on if you get Giannis? I get it. He's a little bit longer. And, he's an athlete, and going to the rim, he's really good.
Yeah, maybe it forces kind of the hands of the Celtics to play a little bit more inside.
I would love dunks.
Which I would love.
Right.
But I don't understand why you can't do that with Jaylen Brown.
Correct.
And he's got a great mid-range game, probably better than Giannis.
Right. We need to switch up the philosophy to be sure. I would say that the handful of threes that are missing, you're doing them consecutive and they're missing. Just change that approach that way, or a timeout in that situation. I think just the philosophy of just chucking them up because they're open and then accepting it as miss league. But if you're missing 8 threes in a row the way the Spurs did, you have to have corrective action and put somebody to the bench, shuffle things up, or you light a fighter underneath somebody's rear end and remind them, like, okay, look, no, see the ball go in.
Maybe he's probably a better rim protector. If we're talking about blocking shots and being in the lane, I guess.
It's like the AJ Brown thing. It's like I don't even want to get the Giannis into fruition until it ends up happening. I hope that it's not an inevitability here. But the Giannis thing, I haven't put 2 and 2 together as how they're going to make it work offensively in the flow of the Celtics with Giannis. And
I put a tweet out this weekend saying that I was not for that, and a lot of people were not interested in that. They want Giannis. They were looking for
tough
Giannis.
because name-wise, and obviously just if their careers ended right now, Giannis is a Hall of Famer.
Oh, of course.
That's probably where it comes from, which is okay. I'm not a star bleeper, so I know where they fit in. And now, granted, JB and JT don't really play this complementary style of basketball. I would like to see a little bit more of that. Maybe a 2-man game with Brown and Tatum. I think they have the ability to develop that. I think that both of them do great jobs working off the dribble, and then screening for each other would be taking them to the next level, I would say. But I would say coaching is a big proponent, and credit to the caller who brought that up.
That's right. Coaching. I just think there are other things you can do. Unless there's a reason to get rid of Jaylen Brown that I'm not aware of, there are other things you can do that could get the Celtics right back into the conversation. Now, they're still going to have to figure out their problem with close games and winning close games, because I still think that's an issue, and Tatum's going to be here, and I think he's the biggest problem on the floor in terms of your inability to win some of those games. So that's going to have to be solved internally, and I don't know how they do that. But one way I think they could do that, though, George, is sort of how they did it in 24. Because Kristaps Porzingis had some huge shots against the Mavericks, especially in that game 1. It wasn't at the very end of the game, but he helped you in those clutch moments. He had a shot, I remember, I think it might have been the first game of the season that year against the Knicks, where he hit a game-winning 3 or something in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks.
And Porzingis' length, much like Wemby, kind of changes the way the offense kind of drives the basketball. It kind of steers people in a different direction.
He was a great rim protector. I loved having it. I wish he stayed healthy longer.
Twin monsters we had too with Horford,
Yeah.
Porzingis,
That was
and
a great
Cornette.
add-in.
Needed more Cornette, Spurs.
So Cornette was positively atrocious. Positively atrocious in the series.
I would say so too. Yeah, for those watching, I would say probably no. Cornette was no. Former Nick, no.
Oh, dude, they abused him.
Right,
when he
targeted.
came in, they knew they could get whatever. He couldn't catch the ball. He couldn't hold the ball. He was too slow. Everything he did was just a disaster. He would be knocking the ball out of bounds. He couldn't get the ball on the floor and grab it with his. Towns crushed him. The only thing Cornette did well was after the game last night in Game 5, he was the only one that stayed on the floor and actually congratulated some of the Knicks. The rest of the children walked away. So that was the only thing I give Cornette credit for. But his play on the floor was absolutely inexcusable and awful. It was because what happened was they couldn't keep him in the game, George. They were getting abused, and bad thing after bad thing after bad thing just kept happening. And then what would happen is Wemby would have to come back in. He'd have to come back in, and he got no rest. And then by the end of the game, he'd be gassed because Cornette couldn't offer him any type of blow throughout the game. 617-779-0985. We got to take a break. We'll do headlines. We get back. More of the basketball. And one point on De'Aaron Fox I want to make, too. 617-779-0985.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
The New York Knicks, they dismissed the San Antonio Spurs in 5 games, winning their first NBA championship since 1973. Final in Game 5, 94-90. Jalen Brunson is your Finals MVP. The odds are out for the 2027 NBA title. And Vegas still likes the Celtics. The Spurs, the Thunder, and Boston all have a better odds to win the championship next year than the Knicks. The Knicks are 4th, according to DraftKings. Red Sox beat the Rangers 6-3 on Saturday. Jarren Duran homered. Boston now in position to get the sweep over Texas. First pitch tonight will be at 7:20. It'll be Connerly early opposite Nathan Eovaldi. And what's going on in the World Cup right now? Germany winning 7-1 over, who is that, Curacao?
Curacao, indeed.
Yes, Germany is up. Sports Up headlines brought to you by Jeep. I can tell you, you can't spell American without it. During the Jeep Makes This Summer event, celebrate 250 years of the country that can, with a great deal on the vehicles that always can. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update, about an hour.
This is what happens when analysts take over the game, take over the sport.
This is where you talk sports.
It happens all the time.
The Sports Hub. In this town, sports happens 24/7. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Brunson trying to get free into the hands of Brunson. Brunson's got Vasil on him. Crossover, drives, goes inside, pulls back. Kicks it out in the corner. Brunson gets it back. Brunson on the drive. The floater's up. Shot won't go. Rebound deflected in the backcourt. Fox has a chance to get it. Fox has it inside. Blocked by Anunoby. 9 seconds remaining. 6 seconds remaining.
It might just go flat for Jalen Brunson. Allow him to operate at the top. 101.
Brunson gets it. Fires up a 3. Shot no good. The chip, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. With 1.2 remaining. Knicks take the lead. OG Anunoby, and it's 107-106.
In the spirit of dumbness, because Chuck has been calling all of us dumb, what was the dumber play? De'Aaron Fox laying that ball up, or J.R. Smith against us in game 1 of those five?
Well, this one guy, JR just got confused on the score. But see, Dre, that's not my problem with today's games. When you got that big of a lead, and we're sitting in the back, somebody says, man, that's 5 threes in a row.
And you're counting them.
And they're like 6, 7, 8. I'm like, damn, you got that big lead, and you take 8 threes in a row.
Very little respect for De'Aaron Fox. I thought he embarrassed the hell out of himself in this series. And I have no idea, but I think this, if I had to guess, you know what it reminded me of?
What?
This reminded me of Tom Brady versus pick any quarterback you want that was more physically gifted. Because it felt like to me, Jalen Brunson put the work in. You know, he had some limitations. Obviously, he's not the tallest guy, probably not the quickest, all of the above. Not an explosive athlete. But he put the work in, put the time in, understood what he had to do to gain an advantage and be great. I feel like De'Aaron Fox, most of his existence in the NBA and in basketball, his career, is because he's just so much faster than everyone, and he knew it, and he plays off of that athleticism. And I don't know what his work ethic, I'm not saying he doesn't have a good work ethic, but it just felt like that's a guy that just was so physically gifted, so gifted in terms of speed and quickness and an ability to play. That's probably what he always relied on. And he didn't put in the reps and the time and have the confidence of a guy like Brunson, knowing he's put in that work and he's polished his game and that he's honed his craft. I think Fox just probably relied, as he always has, on the athleticism and the gifts that he has as an athlete and as, a quick guard that can move and can do things that, other people can't do.
Watching that game 4, I just honestly think that he's dumb. I just lacking for like headiness and things like that.
Of course.
He ended up being a +1 in the game as I look at it, but so many ill-advised threes that I can remember.
Turnovers, stupid passes.
Reminded me a little bit of Tatum, not to poo-poo Tatum, because Tatum doesn't. I'd say he dribbles the ball into the ground and that kind of a thing. I was watching that same thing with Fox, and then them getting to actions around under 10 seconds in the shot clock with no movement at all, and De'Aaron Fox ending up having to chuck up a shot, which, who's to blame in that regard? But very reminiscent of the Celtics, to be sure. I think that he had his head up his keister. It almost looked like if you could rip his jersey, he had like a Knicks gear underneath it.
Yeah,
he played like an insubordinate Spur, to be sure.
Look, I don't even have as much of a problem in terms of his shot selection other than that layup, which was unbelievable.
Oh, no,
like,
yeah.
Unbelievable.
I would look back at it in the second half.
You know what? I'll tell
they
you
played
another
very
thing.
stagnant, to be sure.
Another thing, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but you got to look at who you're up against in that situation, and that was Anunoby.
Right.
Okay, you got to know that Anunoby had like a glow to him in the series.
That moron just thought there was daylight. I
No,
thought.
He did.
He thought he could rely on his speed and just get the layup. But it's just like, and saying it to many people over here, the Sports Hub, it's just as soon as Brunson crosses half court and then that 24-second goes underneath, you know that the next possession, there's going to be no shot clock. He didn't have that awareness, apparently. And then the scramble play happens.
The game wasn't over.
He just didn't have the awareness to hold that ball, bleed a couple seconds out of the clock, get it under 10 comfortably, and then go to the free throw line to earn that 3-point lead. The same 3-point margin that it would have been if you would have made the layup. He just didn't. It didn't process quickly enough for him.
No.
And then what ended up happening was a botched layup there, and then the Knicks have a second opportunity, another opportunity. They had multiple opportunities there in that 2-minute stretch, to be sure.
But I was sure, George, when he batted the ball forward, I thought that was headiness and that he did understand the situation. Just get it out of get it into the front court and then try to use that speed to run around and maybe burn some clock.
Right. Oh, it would have been so smart if he would have curled left in there.
And
then there you go. Make them chase you.
Right.
Yes,
you could have burned another 3 seconds.
That you're going to go up by an insurmountable margin. No, it would have been a 3-point game with as much time as possible because of you.
It wasn't just him. There were a lot of issues.
Yeah.
They couldn't.
He was number one, though, for me.
I tweeted it the other night.
He's a moron.
I wanted to fire Joe Mazzulla after that game because of the drug that is the 3-pointer.
Right.
Okay, and we'll get into that. Let's take some of these calls. Steve's in Miami. Hey, Steve.
Hey, how are you, first of all?
Good.
Now, I must tell you, before I get into Jaylen Brown, if you saw the game last night, a key moment, which nobody brought up, towards the end of the game, the Knicks had a free throw. It was missed, and Wemby, instead of going for the free throw, turned around.
Ridiculous. What happened to boxing out?
Yeah, there you go. What happened? And why is he facing the Knicks player instead of going for the rebound?
Correct. You're 7'4". Face the ball, grab the ball. Why are you face guarding? So the player you're trying to prevent from getting the rebound has a clear vision to the ball. I don't understand. Awful.
He should not have even had that clear vision, but it was not brought up by the announcers. And I thought, what a terrible rebounding for a guy 7'4". Why is he in the guy's face instead of in front of him? And that was a very key moment.
Horrific technique.
I think they scored.
I don't know if that's how they teach it, but that technique was awful. Put your ass into him and let him. If he drives you from the back, that's probably going to be a foul on him.
Yeah, exactly. But to turn around and look at him instead of going for the ball, I do not understand that at all. And I couldn't understand how the announcers missed that. You and I, who are not announcing the game, saw that. And I'm sure other people saw that. And one thing I'll say before I go into Jaylen Brown, all the Spurs fans who were thrilled with them being up by 10, 12, whatever, I mean, I was hoping that they would win, but I was trying. If I could have had a microphone, I would have said to them, "Hey, listen, you guys just blew a 29-point lead. You think this is safe?"
Real quick on the Giannis trade, possible trade, Steve.
Okay, first of all, I'm 100% against it. Giannis has had more injuries. I think he's more of a diva. I do not go against, and I don't know why the media and fans have gone up against Jaylen Brown like they did with what he said that this was his best season. I do not believe he was saying it because they lost. I think he was saying it because he carried the team. He had maybe the best all-around season that he had, and I think it was blown out of way proportion. And I'm hoping that Brad Stevens does not trade Brown in a trade for Giannis, because I think there are other possibilities. In fact, I think the Knicks, I think his name is Robinson, who was in the game towards the end of the game. He's a tall guy. He could box out. I mean, Cates had a very good season, but he can't go against the big guys. He can't even go against Joel Embiid. So I think they just need someone who can be a defensive player and is taller.
Yeah, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for the call, Steve. I just I don't see where they're going to get that much better with Giannis. I don't understand it. Like I said, if there's a reason that I don't know about in terms of why they want to unload Jaylen Brown, I'm happy to listen to those, whatever's going on. But I don't understand how Giannis makes you better. I think the Knicks, based on how they constructed their team, are an example of what you could do with Tatum and Brown. They've already won one. Evan is in Calgary. What's up, Evan?
Yo, Mark, how's it going?
Good, how you doing, man?
So you guys are off base. Like, it's not JB for Giannis 1-for-1.
Mm-hmm.
They need to build a whole roster around the core. So if Brad feels like he can build a better full roster around a core of Tatum and Giannis, then that's what he's got to do. That's what we should all want, right? Like, I'm not saying they need to ship Brown out, but it's not 1-for-1. The roster's not going to be the same if they keep Brown or they get Giannis. It's a whole consideration. You can't just boil it down Brown versus Giannis. Your thoughts, go.
All right. Well, thanks, Evan. I mean, that's a good point. But again, what you're gonna recreate the roster, except you're gonna have Giannis instead of Jaylen Brown. What is Giannis bringing you or offering you that Jaylen Brown doesn't offer you? Is it a financial thing? Is it a leadership? I mean, I just don't have the answer to that. That's what I want to know. What does Giannis offer you that Jaylen Brown doesn't offer you? Do you think he's a distraction? Is that what this is? The streaming? Because it's been far from smooth in Milwaukee. Now, I was just going over what I think could be some of the, maybe a better rim protector. Maybe, he's a little better because he's longer getting to the rim, but Brown's pretty effective at it. I don't know what Giannis gives you. If you want to sit there and outline for me this strategy that's going to allow you to not only get Giannis, but then get a couple of other supplemental pieces that for whatever reason you wouldn't be able to acquire with Jaylen Brown, fine. Then we'll talk. And I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, to Evan's point, the reporting over the early parts of the start of the weekend had Trey Murphy included in some of these multiple team talks as well, with Giannis and Trey Murphy coming to Boston. It sounds like Derek White would have to be involved, and then Jaylen Brown. It seems like he would just have to be involved to make this math.
So you're getting rid of Brown and Derek White.
That's what it's. That's
then what are we doing?
Yeah,
you need more of the Derek Whites. Now, I'm not saying Derek White is still an answer necessarily, but you look at the teams that have won the championship. I mean, even go back to 23 when it was Denver. I mean, some of the other pieces, you had Porter Jr. He was a long, 3 and sort of D guy. You had Aaron Gordon. You had
Brown.
Bruce Brown was a perfect role player for that team. Even a guy who was a rookie at the time, but Christian Brown. Good rookie role-playing type of spark plug that you could put in. That's the type of team you need around Jokic and Murray. Obviously, we don't even have to talk about what the Thunder had. Like, they had a million guys, a million pieces in depth. I mean, the Knicks didn't have a super loaded bench, but their starters were so solid and fit the mold perfectly with Anunoby. Not only did they fit the mold physically, but in terms of their production and their playoff history and how they win, I mean, it was just perfect between Bridges and the synchronization of the Villanova thing, if you believe in that at all. Brunson, Hart, Bridges, Anunoby. I mean, perfectly constructed. The Celtics, when they won, you didn't just have Tatum and Brown. You had Porzingis. You had Holiday. You had White. You add Hauser, who when you have all those guys, Hauser's fine. When you have all those guys, Cornette, who was awful in this series, is fine. Who am I forgetting?
Well, you need the James Posies, the Leon Pose,
Right,
the PJ Browns of the world to go back to even to 08. Right?
So what they had this year clearly wasn't it. They're going to have to find, and I think the Spurs, they had the depth, they just didn't have the experience. They were children, and they are going to need, the Celtics obviously aren't children, but they haven't figured some things out either. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe, you know what? Maybe this is I'll tell you what, maybe this is another problem with this situation. We'll get into that a little bit later, but having so much playoff success so early, so young, maybe that's a problem. Spurs, Celtics, I don't know. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports, 98.5. just like you. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
I am here to add that I have heard Boston is shopping people around a lot right now. That Boston is making calls. Boston is open to trading anybody besides Jason Tatum. And that doesn't necessarily mean they land Giannis at the end of the day. But I do believe, based off of everything, all the conversations I've had, is that the Celtics are in on Giannis and that they are making a push on him. And that this seems to be currently a two-team race with Milwaukee to acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo. We'll see how it plays out, Tom, but this feels very, very real to me that Giannis could get traded before the draft. I think after the finals. I don't think that'll happen this week. I think it would happen after the finals.
But he meant Miami.
He meant Miami.
I just wonder what the Celtics feel like they're missing if they're going after a player like Giannis.
I think it's all a redirection from getting Missoula not on the hot seat when all of his playoff exits have been to opponents where you can argue that we were the favorites indisputably. So I would say this is kind of the misdirect here because, why aren't we getting over the hump or why are we getting eliminated earlier in the playoffs?
I'm just saying Jaylen Brown had the best season of his career.
Right. And then he's the one on the
so
top.
I guess sell high, but what is I don't understand. When you won the championship, he was the MVP of both the finals and the conference finals. What happened? What are you trying to alter, and why is Tatum so untouchable? What's going on behind the scenes that we don't know about? There's just something's not adding up here, George.
It has a whiffing with that.
Something's not adding up. That's what I'm getting at. And I don't know what it is, but there's something out there that's not quite right.
Seem to be catering to one side of things, to be sure. And I think if they coddled both of them, but you could have this two-headed monster, to be sure. Yeah, I mean, this was Brown season. Tatum coming back, interjecting himself. I thought that the Game 7, I thought that was a little fishy, a little eyebrow raising, just for Brown not being in the communication in that bubble.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was okay. It first to have Tatum questionable, the 24 hours later it was kind of like, oh wait a minute here, but to not have Brown in the loop here to kind of pump him up, so to speak. That I don't know why they took that out of the arsenal. Going into a Game 7 that. They sadly blew in the first time in history for the Celtics blowing a lead like that.
Melvin is in Boston. Hey, Melvin.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to say first and foremost that Jaylen Brown out of high school, when he went to Wheeler, I told my best friend he would be a Hall of Famer. And I believe he's on that trajectory to this day. He's my favorite Celtic. However, trading him for Giannis only makes sense if you're trying to get what you would consider to be the best player of the two. I've always felt that way about Jaylen Brown. But my point about Giannis is that I believe the Celtics are at their best when they have a talented 4 or 5 man, and Giannis would be probably the best option you could fill that gap with in the NBA right now. I understand he might have some injury history, but we still went and got Porzingis, and somehow we got it done, and he only played like 4 games in the in the playoffs or something like that. On top of that, he is a 2-time MVP. He is a Defensive Player of the Year, and he's also I think he's the only person to have more 2010 and 5 seasons than Kevin Garnett, who also came here and also got us to the finals twice. So my point would be that if it was me, I believe Jason Tatum being untouchable is completely ridiculous, not just because of the injuries or whatever, but because, if you're trying to make the best case for what the team could look like, I believe Tatum going and Jaylen Brown staying would be the best case scenario, and then you can build whatever else around that. Tatum's skill set is replaceable because he doesn't use his entire skill set, especially in crunch moments like you mentioned earlier. He tends to not go to the basket. Most of his best moves are moving away from the basket when he's trying to be in the scorer's position, and I feel like that's detrimental, especially in crunch times when it's like we have a problem with chucking up threes and not making adjustments, which speaks more to probably Joe Mazzulla or Brad Stevens, but I'm not going to blame Brad because he's not the coach anymore.
Yeah, I just think, thanks for the call, Melvin. Again, internally, I think you can take care of it. I don't understand unless there's a financial stipulation that I'm not as aware of or something else deep within. I don't know why you can't change. Again, I would change the philosophy. I'm not saying don't shoot threes. The Knicks shoot threes. Okay? I'm just saying find a way to get out of being known as the team that only shoots or goes for the three-point shot.
Or only wins when they're going in and then
Right.
excuse it away that, we lost because they weren't going in.
Just
Hey,
be
it's
less
any
than
other
43s a game.
Correct. Oh, I was just,
that's
40,
the number. Just stay
40 is a nice
below
sweet spot.
40.
Right.
And because then you're not known for just only shooting threes. And yeah, you got to remove the stench of, well, when the threes are falling, they're unbeatable. But when they're not, you can win a.
There's no way half your shots are threes.
Right.
There's no
You've
way that
gotta
can be the case.
Get away from that. That's all I'm not saying don't shoot threes. I'm just saying get away from being known as the team that always lives and dies, or at least tries to, by the three-point shot, because you cannot. That is not the good. That's not the DNA you want to have, and that's what the Celtics currently have, and it hasn't worked. It's not working, and the Knicks have found a way not only to make it not work, but to play. They play off of that. They bury you because of that, and that's what they did to the Spurs multiple times. Rich is in Burlington. Hey, Rich.
Hey. I mean, I don't know. This conversation's driving me crazy. Like, this is the dumbest conversation.
Why?
You're sitting here confused as to what are they doing to get Giannis? Guys. Giannis is one of the top 20 players of all time. Forget in the league right now. He's a 9-time team All-NBA player, 7 of which were first team. Jaylen Brown just had his best season ever and is only a second-team All-NBA talent at his best. When Giannis won his championship, the third best player on his team was Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday was like the 6th best player on the team when Jaylen Brown won his championship. Giannis is 7 feet and is a rim protector, which is exactly what this team needs. Jaylen Brown is a slasher who turns the ball over like crazy. And here's the thing. This isn't about shipping Jaylen out. We're not just randomly shopping him to get any Joe off the street. We're talking about Giannis here. A guy who even this past season, everybody's talking all injuries. He was shut down by his team to protect him because they know they had to trade him. Even this past season, statistically, significantly better than Jaylen Brown on both ends of the court. Like, what are we even talking about here? Giannis is a 2-time league MVP. Jaylen Brown, again, his best season ever was only the 6th.
I can't unhear how he's saying the man's name.
Giannis?
Yeah. Look, that's a good argument. Great. If that's the way you're that passionate about Giannis coming here, I respect it.
I don't think Felger's that passionate.
Let me
about
ask
Giannis.
you this, though. When was the last? I just would like some, what's the word I'm looking for? Reference point. What other time recently have we seen a player, with the star power and the game of Jaylen Brown get traded or move on, and you acquire an older, more accomplished, but older, probably diminishing star, and that worked out for you? Don't tell me Julius Randle and Karl Anthony Towns. That's not what this is.
Al Jefferson for Kevin Garnett.
No.
that
was a major upgrade.
That was a package, yeah.
This
we
is
had Kevin McHale in Queens for us. Thank you.
I don't know. Giannis hasn't. The guy, Giannis, the caller was talking about, that's 2021 Giannis Antetokounmpo he was referencing.
Giannis?
This is not that guy. He's older. He's broken down a little bit. I think he's been broken by his situation in Milwaukee. Now, that doesn't mean he can't go to another team and get reinvigorated, but I just don't think you talk about his resume. I'm not looking at his resume. I'm looking at what he's doing now, here and now. Brown, here and now, had the better season. He's younger, and he's got more prime years ahead of him. I have no idea what the future holds for Giannis. So, yeah, I don't think it's a really good idea. Would I throw something across the room, or would I? No, I wouldn't get that upset if they got Giannis. But I would stick with Brown and Tatum in that partnership and try to work around that. I don't care about Giannis's resume that he was a 2-time MVP 6 years ago. Who cares? That player's gone. And he's never really improved much as a shooter. There were issues in the locker room in Milwaukee. I don't love it. I don't love it. Yeah, he's got a better resume. He's a little taller. Brown's a damn good defender. Dan is in Rhode Island. Hey, Dan.
Yes, I am.
There he is.
How you doing, pal?
Good. How's up?
All right. Real quick, with two things. Did anyone bring up to you yet, or have you brought it up? This would never happen. Brunson for Brown straight up. Who would you rather have?
Are you asking me that question?
I'm asking you that question.
Jalen Brunson.
Okay.
Okay.
Tatum, you're still sticking Tatum, right? Over Brunson.
Are you? Hold on, I'm confused. Are you asking me would I take Tatum over Brunson?
Yeah. Now I'm asking. We already said you take Brunson over Brown. Now I'm asking about Tatum.
I would take Jalen Brunson over Jason Tatum.
Yeah, that's you bring up the big thing about the it factor.
Yep.
Brunson is bleeding it factor.
Correct.
And I mean, I'm not a huge fan, but I don't feel the way about either Brown or Tatum when you're watching a playoff game. You just don't. And we're going on, 9 and 10 years respectively with both of them. And my next point is, look, I am not educated in basketball, and I just watch it from afar, but I listen to a lot of the national people, and I know this town is notorious for overhyping our players and what we think their value is. I know Brown is a great player, but I've heard way too many people say he's nice, but he's not great. He's not a guy that you should build a team around. That's just what I keep hearing. I heard the guy who made the comment that you played into this part about Giannis and Brown. He said Brown's a nice player. He's a good player, but I don't think he's a guy. He's like a pimple on the ass or someone like Giannis. That's the way he made it sound when I watched that on. He had it on New England Sports Tonight, whatever that show is.
Yeah.
It's just I'm just saying. We're going into 10 years. You're never going to get more value for Brown than right now. This is one of those moments where, where Danny Ainge had to make it with Pierce, Garnett, and, what Red Auerbach didn't do with Bird, McHale, and Parrish. Hung on too long. And they're at this point right now because Brown's going to be 30. Yes, he still has probably quite a few years left. But once you marry these guys, what's he do for 2 years and $140 million extension in the next year or two?
That is correct.
For Brown, that's a lot of money, dude.
Yep.
I don't know.
Same thing that they want to do for Giannis, though, too.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks, Danny. Good to talk to you. I just look. You need the 2 stars. I still think it comes down to, do the Celtics want to spend, and are they okay being in the apron and trading picks and doing all those things? And can you support, which I think Brad Stevens is capable of, can you support the 2 stars, whomever they are? The Brunson, look, I'm sorry if that's not something you wanted to hear. I have so much respect for doing what he did in the playoffs and being a closer. I think being a closer in basketball is so vitally useful and productive and important and just such an advantage if you're a closer, if you're a lethal closer. So yes, I would take Jalen Brunson over both Tatum and Brown. He's proven it. He's awesome. He does something for that team that Tatum and Brown have never been able to do for this one. Despite their greatness and talent and statistics and the awards and first team All-NBA, Brunson has done it for them, the Knicks. We get back to the Celtics. We already just talked about all the things they could do. The Patriots, though, do they have too much talent? I'll explain. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Jalen Brunson with a steel chair.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5. Celtics, the Patriots, the Sox, the Revs, and you. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Just as Drake May will be extended in 2027, A.J. Brown has $4 million guaranteed to him next year, so he's going to need an extension. And we could talk about how Christian Gonzalez is only going to be turning 24 soon. And again, freak athlete entering his prime. The thing is, the corner position of quarterback, pass rusher, offensive tackle, and receiver, or other premium spots. Corner is the least predictive and sticky and stable year to year, meaning it's harder to predict what they're going to do. We can get into the reasons why. Those are just the facts. Corners are more of a roller coaster than any of the other spots. So even if AJ is older, Drake May is a separate conversation. There's a world in which they can lose the negotiation and still get what they want. And I'm not saying they should do this. I just think it's something to keep in mind and on the table where best case scenario, they sign him and keep him. But to me, even if he gets that extension, his future is not guaranteed in here because the Crafts are going to have to do something that they just have not done. Paid 3 premium players at top of the market prices for long-term deals all within the next 12 months.
Just real quick, I got people chirping me on Twitter. The caller asked who I would take now, Brunson or Tatum. So I said Brunson. I didn't say to trade Jason Tatum. Or I'm trying to trade. I just said if you gave me one or the other, I'd take Brunson because of what he does for that team in close games and the way they build the confidence around his performances late. I don't think the Celtics have that. Despite as great as Tatum has been for this team, they don't have that. In terms of Andrew Callahan's comments, I think this is simple. I think it's very simple for the Patriots. It's not a complicated scenario. Let me ask this question. Was he saying, and maybe we could replay it if we have to, or a portion of it, if they re-sign Gonzalez to big money, they're going to have trouble then signing May and Brown?
I think that is what he's implying. He's also implying that it doesn't preclude the Patriots from trading away Gonzalez because, tying up big money to 3 premium positions, they could, in order to keep everybody happy here, maybe moving on from Gonzalez is something that they'll be open to.
So when is he a free agent? He's under contract for this season.
Correct. And I think that
then they have a club option for 27.
That 5th-year option.
Okay. This is very simple to me. The priority, obviously, let's see what happens. I think you need to keep him here, which you shouldn't have a problem doing because he's under contract. And I don't think he's going to sit out training camp because then he's going to lose a lot of money in fines. I would keep him here this season, Christian Gonzalez, and watch what you have in year 3 with Drake May, coming off of the great year last year. See what his rapport becomes with A.J. Brown, see how Brown plays, all of that. But when the time comes, you're going to have to move on from Christian Gonzalez. He is the third wheel, unequivocally. Corner is not an important position in the NFL anymore. I don't think it's that important.
I disagree, and I like corners.
Yeah, I like corners too.
Well, I think a shutdown corner like Gonzalez, and we'll put him in. We won't agree to disagree there. At least he's definitely top half of the league.
He is.
Top 10 shutdown corner. I think that changes the whole dynamic for you defensively to have, you stick him on any receiver or even the second best, the way Belichick would get creative against like the Tyreek Hills and the Jalen Waddles of the world and kind of double the second receiver. You could just mix and match things, take away a whole
Obviously
half of a field with Gonzalez, to be sure.
I think that's a conversation, George, for 10 years ago. I don't think it's as important as it is or as it was.
It's still a passing league, though.
It is a passing league, but I don't. I think that the position is harder at corner to sustain high levels of play than at other positions. Okay. And if you have a long stretch of good play out of Christian Gonzalez, I would then make the bet that it's not going to be sustainable and that he's going to see a drop off, and that whatever you're paying him, he is not going to be worth.
Far less Darryl Greens and Champ Baileys of the world, to your point.
I wouldn't do it. I'm thinking some of those guys, they live a long time off of reputation, and they're not actually as good as they once were. I don't know if it's just because they're targeted differently or their work ethic changes or whatever it is. I don't have respect for the position to pay that guy over a receiver or a quarterback. Obviously not a quarterback. So you need to, let me just put it this way. When you look at the Buffalo Bills, okay, and I bring up the Bills because obviously they've been on the precipice, they've been close, but they've never quite gotten over the hump despite the fact that they've got Josh Allen. When you look at a team like the Bills, I don't look at the Bills, and I'm sure there's other teams out there that you could apply this to. I don't look at the Bills and say, gosh darn it, if they just had that shutdown corner. If they just got Trent McDuffie, if they just got Christian Gonzalez, if they just found a way to acquire Pat Surtain, they would have gotten Josh Allen over the hump. No, obviously that would help if you had a top-notch corner. That helps. I just don't think it's what gets you over the top. I look at the Buffalo Bills and I say, damn, if Josh Allen had that number one receiver, they'd probably get over the top. And it wasn't just, Shakir and Keon Coleman and Brandon Cooks and these guys that are, okay, good. If he had top end Stephon Diggs like he did for a year or two, if he had the alpha dog, if he had A.J. Brown, if he had Justin Jefferson, I think that could put them in the Super Bowl. Now, you have to have defense to win the Super Bowl. A lot of things have to go your way. They could have gotten to the Super Bowl by now if they had that bona fide number one guy for multiple seasons. That's more important to me. So it's Drake May, it's A.J. Brown. And you salute Christian Gonzalez for everything that he's given you, but I just don't pay cornerbacks top-end money. I don't do it. And not to mention the fact, if you're going to be, hopefully, what we're all hoping, that they're going to be prosperous once again in the NFL draft, especially in rounds 2 through 4, especially 2 and 3, but 2 through 4, I'll throw 4 in there. You need to be able to draft a cornerback that can play. You need to be able to draft Christian Gonzalez, or maybe not even a guy at that level, but a cornerback that is more than capable of being on the field. You need a bunch. I'd be totally comfortable with a bunch of Marcus Jones running around out there.
Well, I mean, I don't want to mix sports here, but kind of to the Celtics
do
point.
You can do it.
Kind of like the Celtics point. Do you want to go ahead and replace this stud top 5 corner with another shutdown corner and hope that you hit in the draft to be sure? I think that's a lot easier said than done. I do appreciate some of your points, though. It is more of a luxury to have. I wouldn't put this in the top of the Bills list to be sure. I would also just like to point out, though, this is the Drake May's rookie contract, and what you kind of hear growing, into this free agent era, and especially with the level of structured contracts for rookies now after Sam Bradford, is you have to go all in. You have to push the chips into the table, especially if you have the franchise quarterback. So I'm not going to let the Patriots off the hook here.
So that's why this season he needs to stay on the team.
Well, I think he'll hold out if push comes to shove. So I think that it's
then let him hold out.
Yeah,
let him hold out and challenge him and say, all right, you're going to fine. You're going to hold out. Well, then you're going to get fined, and we're going to put the pressure on you to report. And if you're unhappy, I would be okay with it because I would know that I'm not going to give him that next contract. I'd let him explore.
You'll be okay with the distraction on the team, and the Patriots can persevere and deal with that?
No, I mean, I would say he's under contract. Or I would offer him something that maybe, they can get creative. Find a way to give him a raise this year, but then without giving him that full extension.
Right,
find a way to make him happy enough for this year.
There would be a happy medium to be sure, just because I think that the Patriots have cap flexibility in the interim, in the immediate future, that it is imperative and it is possible for them to go ahead and get the prime years out of Brown, Gonzalez, and May, and push is going to come to shove within the next 12-ish months to Callahan's point this calendar year.
Well, okay, and we'll wait and see what happens. I disagree with what you said, George, regarding if you and I'm usually all for crossing sports, I don't care. But if you're talking about the NBA and trading Jaylen Brown versus trading Christian Gonzalez, totally different. Okay, the NBA and the star in the NBA is so much more important and vital to the roster and having that guy on the team than Jaylen Brown, getting dealt for a guy that could be comparable versus Christian Gonzalez, I don't think you need a star corner. I think you can win with a bunch of B corners. You can't win with a bunch of B players in the NBA. You need a couple A's.
I just had to acknowledge that you went into you do have to replace that level of talent, to be sure.
Well, they should be able to.
And you couched it by mentioning a bunch of Marcus Joneses, which I do like Marcus Jones.
Which I would be, like I said,
right.
That would be a suitable if you could find 3 guys at the level of Marcus Jones and they could replace Christian Gonzalez, I would do that.
Because you remember going back last decade, the way the Patriots had operated post like Asante Samuel, to be sure, right? And kind of those years with the Lee Boddens and we'll assign Sean Springs to the team.
That was bad.
The 11 was
But part of the problem was, George, they couldn't draft.
Right.
They couldn't draft. How many cornerbacks did they take in the second round that sucked?
Right, the Razai Darling pick just sticks
Darius
out to me.
Butler.
But I would say you could afford that because of the Brady. I would say that you could afford a Gonzalez extension specifically on top of A.J. Brown. I'm assuming that you would be willing to extend because of the Drake May being under this rookie contract in this window within the next couple of years, because I would say with Mahomes getting extended as well too, kind of setting the market at like 64 plus average. May's looking at this 60+ million range as an average annual, and
you got to pay him. I don't know what you want to do. You got to.
know that they have to. They have to.
I mean, let's see what happens this year. I fully expect he'll play well, and they'll be in line to give him that money. That's what I expect. But we're going to see how it goes. But if you're asking me, big picture macro, if it's between those 3, Gonzalez is out because I think I can find another Christian Gonzalez or I can piece together. I just think you can win with a bunch of Bs in the secondary. You can't win with Bs in the NBA. If you trade Jaylen Brown and get a bunch of Bs back, you're screwed. Okay,
right. That would be a waste, right?
You're screwed in the NBA.
Flip them for picks and stuff like that.
Dan is in Saugus. Hey, Dan.
Hey, so I was listening to you about the Christian Gonzalez, and I agree. I don't think you need a number 1 shutdown corner. But I think you need a good corner to do it. We have one in Christian.
Yep.
Can we, guarantee his, I don't know how it works, with the cap and stuff, but, this year and next year, the rookie contract, I don't know how it works, and just guarantee everything just so he doesn't hold out for this year, and then when the 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year option's over, we can go forward from there and figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any reason to think that this guy's going to be a Patriot for life. I just don't think you I don't spend top of the market money on cornerbacks. I wouldn't do it. Okay? If you want to go through the list again, quarterback, yes, obviously. A wide receiver, yes, I would do it. A defensive tackle that can get to the passer from the interior. If Christian Gonzalez was Chris Jones in his prime, do it. Yes, sign him back up. A corner, I don't do it. Okay, I do it for, and then maybe the other position I would think about doing it for, a top level left tackle. So if you have a left tackle, a quarterback, a pass catcher, it doesn't even have to be a receiver. Gronk, like a number 1 weapon, a pass catcher, I would say, and then an interior defensive lineman that could get to the quarterback, a top of the line guy at that. Those are the 3 or 4 that I would do. That's what I would do. So yeah, if you think, but based on what their window is, I think they have assessed it correctly. You went to the Super Bowl last year. The Super Bowl. Okay? You've got a lot of guys coming back. You've got a lot of depth at certain spots. And you got A.J. Brown. So, yes, your window right now is getting back to the Super Bowl. That's the window for this year. So you need Gonzalez to be a part of that. So figure out something to sweeten the pot for this year. He is under contract. Show him you appreciate him by giving him a raise for this year. And then at the end of this year, you can reassess your window. And then if it doesn't work out or you didn't have the year you thought or Drake May kind of struggled and went, he didn't obviously flame out, but he wasn't as good as you thought. And now you're a little bit further away than you thought or somebody get hurt or whatever. You reassess and then you can decide, all right, now it's the time we can move off. We're not going to give him the money. We move off. We'll start over at that position. we're not all that close anyway. Or, damn, we were really close again. And guess what? We had this draft pick that we didn't know much about. I wish you'd show up, but let's just say Gabe Akis turns into this ferocious pass rusher. And all of a sudden, you've got like a top 5 pass rusher, one of the top rookie defenders in the league.
Mitigates the secondary need. Right?
Well, not only that, but then you could reassess the window. Like maybe if there's a way to sweeten the pot one more time, you might not give him that long-term deal, but if you keep him around one more year to go into that free agency season or whatever, because you think you're even closer now that you've got a top-end defensive lineman, a pass. So there's a lot of things that could happen. But long-term, I don't give corners top-of-the-market money, especially if you've proven you're able to draft, which I'm hoping the Patriots are back to doing. 617-779-0985. We're going to have a World Cup segment here. George is into it. I am into it. We'll talk a little bit of that after headlines. Mark Dondero, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. station. This is Boston's home for sports. WBC-FM at HD Boston. 98.5 The Sports Hub. A Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
The New York Knicks are NBA champions. They dismissed the Spurs in 5 games. Game 5 last night, 94-90 the final. Jalen Brunson is your finals MVP. Odds are out for 2027 in the NBA title, and Vegas still likes the Celtics. The Spurs, Thunder, and C's all have better odds of winning the championship next year per DraftKings than the Knicks do. The Knicks are 4th. The Red Sox beat the Rangers 6-3 on Saturday. Jaren Duran homered. Boston now in position to get the sweep over Texas. First pitch tonight will be at 7:20. Connor Lee Early will be on the mound for the Sox opposite old friend Nathan Eovaldi. And in the World Cup, current action, Netherlands and Japan. They are scoreless. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, keeping drains flowing for homes and businesses in the greater Boston area since 1976. Go to johnsewer.com. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Attack for him, deep three, violent two-hand slam. Wow.
98.5 The Sports Hub. No matter what team, no matter what player, no matter what coach, no matter what game, it all happens here. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Go on, get one more, boys.
Imagine they seal the deal the last
There we
night.
go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh!
Trivella Gio? I didn't know Trivella Gio existed. Oh my word! Let's go. Oh my lord! Let's go. Wow. Hey, how about the calmness to the finish? Look at Pochettino ran the whole length of the field onto the pitch. Wow, Poch is down there. He's on the pitch. Oh my God.
The entire bench cleared. The coaching staff cleared to celebrate. Wait, we gotta watch this.
Do not underestimate that finish. Outside the right foot.
I don't even know what that was. What was that?
That was the Fox World Cup Now crew reacting to the 4th goal. If you heard the name Reina in there, 2 buzzer beaters, if we could call it that for soccer, but you got the Fox World Cup Now crew reacting live to that 4th goal. Gio Reyna, the inside foot, the curve.
Okay.
Just a beautiful day for USA in their opening match. One of the co-hosts of the World Cup, of course.
Beautiful. It was an impressive game.
Nice. I'm glad that you caught it. I would say that first half was the most impressive I've ever seen the USMNT look, which is scary to me. Had me kind of verifying with my friends and some of the people who are more in tune with the soccer and especially the South American teams in Paraguay. I was very interested because I wanted to be dismissive of them. He reassured me that they were a decent team, that there was a stretch in qualifiers, that they only had lost one in a dozen or so matches. They had beaten Uruguay and Argentina, so they've held serve against some of the tougher competition in this hemisphere. But for whatever reason, they laid a dud against the USMNT. They were open on Friday.
I think part of this has to do with the fact that they've expanded the field, which, by the way, normally I'm against expansion of the field.
I know, me too. We were talking
water it
about
down, correct. But in this case, I'm actually okay with it. Why? Because I'm not following, like in the NHL or let's go with the NFL. Okay? In the NFL, okay, if you're in a situation where they're going to expand the field for the playoffs, Major League Baseball, I can sit back and look at who now is getting into the playoffs, and I can see their records, and I'm astutely in tune with their ineptitude. So if you have a team that's below 500 making the playoffs, I'm vehemently against it. This tournament, the World Cup, I have no idea. For example, I have no idea how Scotland ended up in the World Cup. I love the fact that the Scots are here. Hello, welcome. 617-779-0985. I love that they're here. I have no idea how Scotland ended up in the World Cup. Should they be here? Did they have a, whatever the equivalent to a losing record but still making the playoffs? Is that the situation? I don't know. So it doesn't affect me because I have no idea the structure that got Scotland here. So I'm just going to assume that they've earned it and they're better than I think or they're worthy or whatever. So in that case, expansion, I'm good with. It also helps the United States because we're a competent enough club. What were they, 15 or 16 in the world, something like that?
To your point, though, the group is underwhelming, I would say. With
it's an underwhelming group.
Turkey and Australia and then Paraguay as the combatants here in this round robin and group play. I kind of Googled for the group of death to be sure, and they
Who is the group? What is the group of death?
I think they mentioned I and K. I'll tell you exactly the specifics for those specific groups, but they also had complaints saying that the World Cup is kind of watered down in terms of group play. I'm not kind of fancying the 32 teams advancing with 8 third place club teams, in group stage advancing.
Yeah,
as well.
I guess to
be different.
The long and the short of it is I feel like the reason the U.S. looks so good is because Paraguay sucks, and they probably shouldn't even be here. So we looked better than we normally do because this is a team that's just happy to be here because they expanded the field, and there's more that, however many more teams now. What was there, 16 more teams? They went from 32 to 48.
Yeah, they had a 32-team tournament. It was 8 groups of 4 for the majority of our lifetime, at least. That's the way it had been. So, I would, to your point, I would say Scotland. How the hell would you get through in the original Euros? I mean,
but we don't know,
yeah.
And I'm never going to know because I'm not going to look it up, and I don't care, and whatever.
They got it over Italy, right?
In Italy, a team that's won the damn World Cup. What happened?
Could not crack this tournament.
So that's fine,
right? You would think it's automatic a bid. Same thing with the United States. If you're not going to ever make these tournaments with this expanded format, especially in CONCACAF, there's a problem. So
right, when the Italians won the World Cup. What, within the last 10 years?
I could research that for you, too.
Yeah,
I know that in 18, though, speaking of the U.S. not making the World Cup because of a Trinidad qualifier, so there's never going to be an excuse for the U.S. to not ever make a World Cup if they have this expanded format going forward.
So I can't find a bracket here in terms of what happens next. I guess what I'm looking for is when I can definitively say they'll be tested, like really tested.
Nice. If they win this group play and kind of what I'm reading, if other teams hold serve, they'll avoid the troublesome part of the bracket. It's if they.
Well, I think Taylor Twellman said that on Felger and Mash. Right. Didn't he outline that?
Yeah. So if they get into a bracket,
and that's why winning this game was huge on Friday night.
I think definitely they are going to advance based off this new format. They already have a win under their belt, so it'll be hard for them not to get into knockouts. But, probably to everybody's point, probably the second matchup into knockouts would probably be a line of demarcation, whether if we have a successful run at the World Cup or not, and when we're ultimately going to probably field our first test. Now, I would say Turkey, they played well against Australia at the midnight game. So I think that will be a test. That's our third game. And then Australia next week at 3 o'clock. We can't underestimate the Socceroos, to be sure. So I'm not taking any game for granted
no, you can't do that.
USMNT, no. But I was thoroughly impressed of the way that the ball movement that they had in that first half. Pulisic looked amazing.
Who's Pulisic?
Christian Pulisic, number 10.
Pulisic,
yeah. See, look at me mispronouncing things. I listen to these games in Spanish, to be sure.
That's okay.
Yeah, so
Pulisic looked the way you'd want him to look.
Correct.
He was controlling the game. Some of the passes he made. Did he score? Is it an own goal?
He said.
So is that a goal for him, or is that just no goal for anybody?
No, it ended up being an own goal because of just the way the deflections happened.
Pulisic should get the goal.
Yeah, McGinn had got. At your point, in the Scottish game, there was a deflection, but they gave the goal to the Scot. They played tremendously. Pulisic, he assisted on the first couple goals. They played great in space. We have height, something that the South Americans didn't have, the Paraguayans, sadly, against us. I think that we can dominate defensively with the Chris Richards of the world, the Robinsons. Tim Ream played surprisingly well. What do you make of the yellow card being flipped? That was incredible because they baited the referee in the flop. I forget the name of the player. I tweeted out Miguel something. He rolled over on the ground pleading bloody murder for his ankle. And upon review, in real time, within 60 to 90 seconds, they went ahead and rescinded that and then handed that yellow right to the flopper.
Yeah.
I immediately thought of the NBA.
I love it.
We need to be able to assess technical fouls and shame these floppers.
Yeah, look, as much as I appreciate Brunson,
he flops.
I do think he's not as bad.
There's an art form to it.
There is a little SGA in him.
Right.
He's not a flopper, but he does do some foul baiting where he looks for contact. And by the way, the NBA, the rule where you can jump into a player and get a foul called on the defender is so stupid.
Right.
Like, I don't care if they're standing in some space. If you have to jump forward to create the contact, that should not be a foul.
Correct.
That's a stupid rule.
Right. I'm glad they didn't assess the tech for the underneath my ankle, I rolled it because I wanted to kick my legs forward and jump forward.
And by the way, the other thing too, Scott, the extender Foster, I thought honestly he did everything possible. I thought the Spurs had the whistle for a large stretch of that game, and they still couldn't win. They had a favorable whistle all night and still couldn't find a way
with the
late.
lead.
No, they couldn't do it. The calls were going. Wemby should have gotten that. That was a foul. That was a flagrant. Now, is that rule one I like? Not really.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think a guy should be suspended because he accidentally landed in the landing zone. Or
correct.
You could give him a flagrant in game.
I didn't even like the elbow tech that in the second half of Game 4.
No, he's trying to swim
Towns.
across.
Yeah, no, Towns is defending with his face. Of course, Wemby should be able to naturally have his arm. And Jaylen Brown all the time. He elbows guys, but he's doing a natural basketball gather. And if somebody wants to defend with their face, like Brunson, they're going to get elbowed, and now we have to review it nowadays because somebody's holding their face. And why was it contact to the face? Is it a flagrant 1, a flagrant 2? Is there blood?
If it's deliberate,
right,
that's where it's
correct,
a flagrant.
it's
and
malicious.
I get it; it's a little harder to decipher when you're talking about, being in the landing zone. But you could like Zaza Pachulia,
right.
That was deliberate. You could see he
Right.
continued
He's
to
inching.
invade the space.
Right.
If you're just jumping.
And you're feet away from them.
You're
as well,
right.
3
And
or
then
4 feet
you
away.
can see if the guy's trying to make an effort to get out of the landing zone. You can even make it a flagrant. Give him the foul shot and the ball. But it can't be you're suspended.
Right.
It shouldn't be. I mean, if Wemby missed Game 6 for that would have been ridiculous.
A nightmare. I did tell my cousin, though, I texted them and congratulated him for being a New York Knicks fan. I have family in the Bronx.
Yeah, look, it's great for the league. Because it's an NBA, it's a basketball mecca, despite what they want or whatever.
I did joke with them, though, that good thing that they had won in a gentleman's sweep because of a Game 6. I don't know if New York could have handled that crime-wise.
No. Not with that leadership, but that's a separate problem there. Look, the thing I'm wondering is, look, in terms of the World Cup, getting back to Team USA, how real is it? And is that unfair for me to wonder? Because that was as impressive as a performance, but I'm just looking at the expanded field, and it's like, all right.
Right. Would Paraguay have advanced and
that's
been a part
right.
of this World Cup?
Would they actually be that dominant if it was what it used to be? And I'm just going to be cautiously optimistic. I understand that we're going in the right direction, and more of our guys play in Europe and do all those things, and that's great. And it's going to sound ridiculous. I do think we're getting a little bit of juice being in the same calendar year where USA hockey men won the gold medal, the first one in how long? So I do think that gives you a little juice internationally. But I'm not willing to say. I expect them to beat Australia. And then probably when they get out of this round, this stage, we'll figure out really what they're all about. But I mean, it couldn't have been a better start. They look really good. They looked really prepared, explosively. What was the name of the guy that scored the 2 goals?
Balogun.
Balogun. I love that guy.
Yeah,
that second one with the left foot high into that corner of the net. You serious? How did the net hold that shot?
Yeah, the story about him too. He's going to be a British Nigerian, to be sure. 2 Nigerian parents. His mother was going to go on a flight from the East Coast to London, missed the flight because she went into labor. Americanized Balogun.
Didn't he had the option to play for 3 separate countries? Didn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure.
And he picked the U.S., which looks huge now. So We'll see. I loved what I saw from the first one. I love the Scots being here. But I feel like the cream is going to rise. And when they, the Spains, the Argentinas, the France of the world, it's going to be a different, Brazil didn't look great, but I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't know soccer.
Yeah, I would say Morocco was impressive to me.
Morocco.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. So, yeah. There's your soccer minute. I'm into it. I did an essay. I wrote an essay on the World Cup, so I have respect. Let's go to John in Bridgewater. Hey, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Just go back to the soccer for a second. I have a take for you. There is not one single person on any Boston sports team that matters to their team more than Carlos Heel matters to the New England Revolution. That's it.
Well, listen, that's an interesting take. I can't dispute it. It's not like I know a lot about. Is it Carles Heel? Is that how you say his name? I've said it wrong.
Yeah, we always say Carlos
to
be sure. Yeah.
I think it's pronounced something different. The Revolution. Look, here's the thing about the Revolution. In a city where we were doing nothing but win, they had a hard time of closing the deal. If you go back to 2007, 2008, they couldn't close the deal. I don't think they've ever won the championship. And I think they kind of got, an unlucky draw, so to speak, just by being in the same city with all these professional sports teams that were having unprecedented levels of success. I'm great that it's great that Heel is so vital and so impactful for the Revs, but what is he going to deliver? And what is that supposed to mean to me?
Our current leading scorer with 5 goals as a 33-year-old.
Okay. I mean, win in the playoffs and do something noteworthy to bring the team to the title game and win it. I mean, unless that happens, I don't see them generating a lot of momentum here in terms of me talking about how vital Carles Heel is to the Revs. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5, The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5, The Sports. sports, yeah, we got that covered. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Put him away with his heater.
Swing and a miss.
Nope,
Got him.
got him. Split.
That's going to do it. Got him with the split. Raldis Chapman with his 14th save of the year. The Boston Red Sox, for the first time since April 8th, have won a series here at Fenway Park, and they make it back-to-back.
Well, we talked about it at the first game of this series. At home, pitching hasn't been an issue. They continue to pitch well the first 2 games of this series, but the offense has been the difference. Lefties using the monster, punching back after giving up a run early in this game, taking the lead in the 3rd inning. The offense coming alive, and that's against Jacob deGrom and some good arms out of the bullpen. The offense looked good today.
Yeah, offense looked great today. Went up against a great pitcher in Jacob deGrom. And Duran finally comes through with the big bomb in the end to secure that win. We get to see Chappie pitch. What a great game.
Back here, 98.5 The Sports Hub. So here's where we are with the Red Sox. Okay. 2 straight wins. This is from the Boston Globe today. Tim Healy. Okay. Here's the new thing going with the Red Sox right now. After the Red Sox 6-3 win over the Rangers, it belonged to Ceddanne Rafaela, who had the 2-out, 2-strike, 2-run single in the 7th inning to put the team ahead for good. What belonged to Ceddanne Rafaela, you ask? A jumbo-sized figurine of Bowser, the evil bipedal fire-breathing turtle monster kidnapper of Super Mario. Do you know Bowser, George?
I certainly do, man. I am a big video game nerd, and I sadly didn't take my son to watch the newer Super Mario movie.
Yeah, I saw the first one. I haven't seen the second one yet.
Nana came through with that,
Okay.
so I'm waiting for the DVD Blu-ray release for the second one.
Okay. Look, I'm all for Mario. I used to play Super Mario World. there was a game on Super Nintendo called Mario All-Stars.
Oh, I had the one with the Super Mario World.
Oh.
They released the compilation.
Okay,
plus
so
Super
I
Mario
didn't get
World.
that one.
Yeah.
I had Super Mario World, and then I got Mario All-Stars, which had Mario 3, Mario Brothers. 3 was awesome because you could get the squirrel tail and
The best.
fly.
3 was the best.
Didn't beat it, never beat it. I think I beat... So we, as in the kids and I, a few years ago, busted it back out and tried to beat Super Mario World. I had never beaten it.
You let them down?
Well, no, I think we beat it, even though I didn't have every level beaten.
Yeah, you get like a 96 star.
There's a couple shortcuts, and you can get to.
Yeah.
But then the thing it crapped out, and it wouldn't save, and it didn't save, and then the whole system
That's
went
devastating.
under. It was devastating. But so I'm for Bowser, but this is where we are in the Red Sox season now.
They have to do these gimmicky things to get you
Okay.
to.
So let me
the
tell
locals.
you. I'm going to tell you what happened. Okay, at the start of Saturday, it sat in Wilyer Abreu's locker, Bowser. Okay? It was Wilyer's reward for a big game the night before. After the 6-3 win, though, as I stated, it belonged to Ceddanne. Bowser, this is from Tim Healy in the Boston Globe, is the Sox' new Player of the Game prize, courtesy of Jarren Duran, the team's top instigator of bits and gags. Been a lot of gags this year.
To interject, though, they lack veteran presence, to be sure. This is why I got uptight about anybody commenting on Trevor's story the moment Cora got fired. I'm not going to be an apologist for Breslow in that situation. I thought that Cora was an advocate for the team to get better, and a proponent for it. Excuse me. I thought the Red Sox overachieved continually with Alex Cora making chicken salad out of chicken bleep. So
Are you a star bleeper?
No.
Okay. I'm just telling you, I'm all for. I think the Red Sox have actually done well over the years when they've had these little things. Not this though, but the beards, the cowboying up, the idiots.
This works
things like
with
that.
Pedroia and Ortiz. When you have them in the locker room. Then Manny being Manny works.
This is different. This is an action figure. Okay. So let me keep it going here. Honestly, it could have been thousands of dollars, and I would have bought it, Durant said. I was just so excited that it popped up in my line of vision, and I was like, I need this. Bowser. He needs the Bowser figure. Bowser has become an accidental mascot for these Sox. In spring training, utility man Nick Sogard and Trevor Story, shortstop, assigned the nickname to first baseman Wilson Contreras. So now they're calling him Bowser.
It's me, Mario.
Look at him, Story said in April, strong as hell, like Bowser. Contreras Bowser t-shirts ensued. In the months since, he's been the Sox best player, a leader in statistics and energy. He carries an edge on a club that often needs one.
I would say by default.
Then, a little over a week ago, Duran was walking around Manhattan, and in the front display of a toy store stood Bowser.
I always wanted to go to the Nintendo store in Manhattan.
About 18 inches high and heavier than one might expect per Rafaela. That was Rafaela's assessment of Bowser. A little heavier than you might expect.
Rafaela, you lost points in my book.
Duran said about Bowser, quote, basically speaking to me through the window, close quote. Wow. The Boston Red Sox. You've been looking for a new trophy trinket. It was the cover of the dugout bullpen phone, and then manager Alex Cora broke it in a fit of frustration. I don't know what happened there. That was their last thing that they had. I guess it was broken by Cora. So they found a replacement, Bowser. They brought him to Yankee Stadium and awarded it to the Sox standout hitter when they won that night. Coincidentally, that was Contreras. Since the trophy is awarded only after wins, Contreras has had custody of it for about a week leading up to this weekend because they lost a bunch of games to Tampa and all that. It's always fun, Rafaela said, smiling as he admired the toy, to have something with the boys. Oh. That's where we are with the Boston Red Sox. Bowser. Oh, just one other note. Pitchers, nope, not allowed to get Bowser. They can't win Bowser. They're not eligible for the honor.
Peyton Tolley, man, he's been clutch. He's been a stud. Oh, you're going to deprive him of Bowser?
Yes. So Ranger Suarez, who played, he had a good outing. No, he doesn't get Bowser.
The pitching has been the staple of this team as well.
So there you have it. And now Rafaela has that trophy. For better or worse, Bowser. Tremendous. By the way, I think I made this point last week. Who's been their best hitter this year? Probably. Obviously Roman Anthony hasn't played much. Is it Wilson Contreras? Okay.
Off top, that's
so if you compare the stats and the numbers, Wilson Contreras is essentially, if you're wondering why the Red Sox are struggling offensively, he's essentially Trot Nixon. So picture your best hitter. Think of all those Red Sox teams from 20, 25 years ago during the heyday of the rivalry with the Yankees and all that. And if your best hitter during all those years or during that stretch of time was Trot Nixon, how prosperous would you have been? And when I think of it that way, at least it gives me a bit of an understanding as to why they've been so bad and so inept offensively. And I like Trot Nixon, but if he's your top guy, you are screwed. And that's essentially what the Red Sox are working with now.
91 Red Sox, Jack Clark, 28 home runs, nobody else sniffing that.
Yeah.
That's where
had
we
the
are.
uppercut swing.
That is so where we are, though, too. Like, I'm having to go back to, like, my first baseball memories to, like, that's
Give me
right.
some names of your first baseball memory. First baseball memory. Give me a name.
I actually went through this the other day. Ernest Riles, and because
I don't know that name.
See, I was born in '86, so
okay.
he was only on
same
the team.
age. We're the same age.
He was only on the team for a cup of tea in the '93 season, and the reason why I remember that scrub Ernest Riles is because he got pelted by a ball in play, and I know the rule now that you are out if you are in play and are a base runner and you get a ball batted into you, you can't avoid it.
You didn't know that rule?
Well, no, in 1993 as a 7-year-old.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. So my first baseball. Now, granted, I always knew Wade Boggs growing up, and we learned Tony Gwynn and Wade Boggs. We were from that era. You know, that's exactly what we were raised on.
Wade Boggs I was raised on Wade Boggs.
And the same thing with Roger Clemens and stuff. So it's that kind of precedes Ernest Rouse, though, and the Phil Plantier stance with the toilet bowl little squat.
Give me another name.
Emulated the stances.
Another
and
name
stuff,
for you.
So
Jody Reed.
Right.
That was a guy that I was saying because I had those cards. I got the
Baseball
cards.
cards, right?
I had a guy by the name of Tom Brunansky.
Yes, I emulated his stance.
I had
Tom
the card.
I remember his stance.
Yep.
Tony Pena, he had given us a ball.
My guy Ellis Burks.
Yes. All the years there before that he had to come back for us for the 04.
04, he was back. That was great.
That was good to see him full circle.
But that team there, that early Wade Boggs, I mean, that was a great set. That 92 tops, I had all those cards.
Oh man, but we had a young Mo Vaughn, so there was still hope. You know? So there was still like a pipeline of like we had the hope, or you thought that Burks or Greenwell or Boggs eventually left, of course, and scarring young.
That hurt
George.
me. That hurt me.
It did hurt.
That
it
hurt
did
me.
hurt. And then he had to shave his lovely, beautiful beard. Oh.
Okay. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5, The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5, The Sports Hub. Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
One shot for the championship. He got it! 4-point lead. 7.5 to go. De'Aaron Fox across midcourt with 5. Left wing handoff to Wembanyama with 2. Takes a 3 that he misses too strong. It's happening, Knicks fans. It's happening. It's been 53 years. But for this moment, it was well worth the wait. A playoff run that'll go down in history and a team that will live forever. Next stop, the Canyon of Heroes. The New York Knicks are NBA champions.
Eyes on team. We were a team. We've been a team the whole time. But I want to say something to New York. Hey, New York, I'm sorry it took so long, but here we are, and hopefully it won't take that long again.
All right, so that was the Knicks, the sound after they won their championship. I hate the Knicks, but it's good for basketball. It's good for the NBA. It's a legit team you have to have respect for. I thought the post game was a disaster on multiple levels. Nothing, insane, but I mean, that from James Dolan was disastrous. I don't know what he was trying to do. They just sounded completely ridiculous and erratic. Mike Brown singing "Who Let the Dogs Out" and continuing to just belt out the chorus of that song, I thought was weird. Even Jalen Brunson's interview with Lisa Salters, I thought was a little weird. Not having anything to say. He was choked up and overcome with emotion, but find something to say. It was like he was trying to just allow for the emotion to do the talking, but she wasn't having it, and she wanted him to actually talk. The whole thing was, I thought, a little awkward, but fine. You win the championship, good for you. Disastrous series for Victor Wembanyama. Look, I'm not going to get on him for being dirty, even though I do think he's dirty. But for so long, we've heard about the soft Euros who come over and they can't compete with the hardcore physical Americans. So if he's going to throw elbows, he can do those things, whatever. I don't care. I thought he just came up incredibly small. And I'm wondering, I alluded to this earlier, if getting to the playoffs that intimately and having a deep run and being the centerpiece of the team might hurt you. Or might at least, maybe not hurt you in terms of your development. Maybe it does. But at least hurt you in terms of perception. I wonder if part of the way Jason Tatum is perceived is because some of his struggles occurred when he was so young. I think of other guys that have had success. Paul Pierce, for example. The first time he actually had real success in the playoffs, he was 4 or 5 years into the NBA? It's not like he was his second or first year.
I think of that comeback against the Nets.
The Nets, yeah. It was a fourth, fifth year.
Yeah.
So, 98, 99, 99, 2000, that's probably his fourth season. You got to, some of these guys, they come on, they have so much hype. They do so well so early, they get into the playoffs, and then it's like, and I think that might be a little bit of an indictment on the NBA, because the NBA today, and I was thinking about this during the finals, the regular season is really useless. It really is. The playoffs, I still think, are fabulous. I still love the NBA playoffs. But the 82-game slog, and then you factor in everything else, tanking, load management, all this other stuff, it's really a waste of time.
I would say out of all the regular seasons, NBA matters the most.
I hate to say that on the Celtics flagship, because everybody here does a great job. We have a great presentation for the games, but I'm telling you, the way that the regular season goes, look at the East versus the West. How many times do we keep saying the West is so much better and this is the real NBA? I remember hearing the real NBA Finals was Thunder Spurs. That was the real finals.
Going through the West.
Yeah, no. The NBA season, the regular season, needs to become, and the Cup isn't going to do that. No. They need to figure out a way to either shorten it or, I don't know, make it more entertaining. I guess if everybody played every game like they used to, it would be a little bit more appealing. But, the playoffs are a completely different level of basketball.
Agreed.
And in a bad way. Not, because I think the regular season is on such a lower level. It's stunning, and I think that's bad for the league. But I do wonder if guys like Tatum and Wembanyama having so much success and then being labeled as chokers or they struggled in the finals when they shouldn't even have been in the finals. I wonder if that's because, I don't know, some of these other teams that aren't playing as hard during the regular season can't find it in the play. I don't know what it is. But it just feels like back then, those teams, those types of players never made it to the stage where you would label them so hardcore that they couldn't win. Like when Michael Jordan was losing to the Pistons, that was just a hump he couldn't get over. Nobody was calling him a choker.
Correct. And it wasn't happening at the final moment and stuff, to your point. I would say probably parity has, if we're going to point a finger to why these guys are getting exposed and other teams making these runs is because for the past 8 years consecutively, we've had a different champion, and not just, somebody in another subsequent year winning it and just not consecutive here, to the football point. These are all different winners for the NBA Finals. So it's not, I would say it's not a help for trying to get the loser name attachment away from yourself. It doesn't help because the bigger the stage, the more eyeballs. And back in the day, right, we weren't or even to the runner-ups. Yeah, I don't think of Drexler or Malone, Stockton as these ultimate losers.
No,
per se. Maybe Barkley kind of gets that bad rap, to be sure. But no, I think that's something that's a byproduct of this day and age.
Part of the reason Barkley, I think, gets that bad rap is because he's got a big mouth, and I think the mouth hurts. If you got a big mouth, that can affect your legacy.
He's one of the first ones that got the MVP and that got under Jordan's skin, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I think, we've seen it with Kurt Schilling, obviously. I think it's helped Barkley, but it's also hurt him. I think that's why a lot of people say to him and chirp at him that he's never won. Nobody does that to John Stockton.
Yeah, it wasn't as not as ubiquitous as it was as it is right now.
Look, I don't know. It's obvious. I mean, you're not going to turn down having playoff success, but I do think it can sometimes label you a certain way, and then, first impressions mean a lot. It's hard to overcome a bad first impression sometimes, and I think that's what happens. I was just told via text, shout out Kevin at Zavarian, Tyler Murray was on the call that you just played, George. Okay, nice. The last call for the Knicks there, the Canyon of Heroes, Zavarian Brothers High School, right here in Westwood, Mass, graduate 2008.
Look at that.
Great call. Local kid. Local man.
Look at that. I have nothing really against the Knicks, to be sure. I think that the fan base is much like us.
They're passionate. They earned it. It's been a long time. I think they built the team the right way.
52 years, man.
They didn't, it wasn't draft picks, but I think they did the right, they put in their going through the trials and tribulations, and they lost, and they found a way to bounce back, and they got a little closer and a little closer, and this year they just exploded in Brunson.
More so than the roster construct, I love their play style. That's the one thing that's undeniable, is that they have grit. On the contrary, where we're a front-running team and we hate when the game gets close and gets tight,
right?
They are relishing those moments.
Correct.
And when they're down, they are not down and out. They're still persevering all the way to the end, and it is a credit to them. They play a gritty style of basketball, and they earned it.
And I'm telling you right now, what we saw from Jalen Brunson during these playoffs, the closest thing we've seen since Michael Jordan. And I don't mean the performance and the statistical dominance of Game 5, 45 points, and putting your team on your back and getting it done by carrying them to the championship and all that. I'm not talking about that.
The numbers were there.
The numbers were there, but they've been there with other players. LeBron, Kobe. We've seen big statistical performances and gaudy numbers before. I don't think since Jordan, we have seen the aura of a player take down a team like Brunson did to not just the Spurs, but specifically the Spurs. The way the other teams feared him late. The way this inevitability that you knew he was going to find a way somehow to come through with a shot late, to make that big shot. And the belief that his team had that something Jalen did down the stretch was going to get them the win, allowing all of those guys to play their own game and not press and do what they needed to do and fill their roles. I don't think a player has had that specific impact since Michael Jordan. Jalen Brunson, he did the statistical part. You know, he had the big game 5, the clincher, but being the closer, hitting the big shots, and creating an aura around the Knicks, and specifically his ability to close out the moment, I don't think we've seen that since Jordan. I don't think Kobe ever got to that level, despite his greatness and Mamba and everything he did for the Lakers, especially post-Shaq. I don't think LeBron certainly never did that outside of a block. The scoring ability late to close out a game is 1A in the NBA, and Brunson did that and created that culture, that aura, as well as anybody has since Michael Jordan. Jordan was the last guy, and then it's Brunson. Nobody's done it as well since Jordan.
And this isn't the day for me to even argue with you on it, because I get caught up into the shift we had a couple months ago, pre-playoffs, and I am just not a fan of these Knicks, and I'm not fearful of them. I was very dismissive of them, which
a lot of people were.
Right.
I mean, people, Felger, I mean, everybody, the East is trash.
So I like to apologize to New York for my level of disrespect.
Well, they've been waiting for that, George.
Absolutely. You know, I'm a man of integrity. You know, it's tough to bite the bullet here, but I would say the Knicks have earned this. Now, I don't think that they'll be back. You know, so I'll save all that for another 365 days. They are going to be the reigning and defending NBA champions until they get eliminated. And even though I don't believe that they will be back in the immediate future or ever, really, there's nothing that you can do to take away the 25-26 season from the New York Knicks.
And I tried to tell people. I said it in May 8th, 2024. I said that you could tell they had a winning Brunson, that DNA to them. And if you couldn't recognize it, I don't know what to tell you after 20 years of Brady and Ortiz. We saw what that type of player and presence does to a team, and we saw it early with the Knicks. Now, they hadn't won anything yet, and there's still lumps they had to take, but we could see it, and 360,000 people chirped me. I'll never forget that tweet. Sorry.
You got to take. It's your right to take the victory lap here. It's tough because we're.
And I hate the Knicks. I was literally rooting against them the whole way.
I would love for you to have been wrong too, so then I could look more right. Right. Oh, the West is the best. Of course, they were going to lose against the West. No,
and just because you said that, I am as just an observer and a fan of the NBA Finals in general. I would have loved, now looking at what happened with the Spurs, if the Thunder as defending champs could have stayed healthy, and I could have seen Thunder Knicks,
would have been great.
It would have been like that immovable object versus the unstoppable force. I would have loved to have seen that.
More of the 22 finals.
Right.
And then the Knicks would have been more of the Celtics.
Well, the Knicks would have had more experience, but then you would have had the Thunder team that had experience winning it all, not as young and green as the Spurs. I know they earned it. The Spurs did. But if you had J-Dub playing, and if that Mitchell kid didn't get